growing of food, large agriculture and small agriculture has been seemingly under attack throughout the entire Western world, particularly the small agriculture here in the United States. It's so bad that the last many weeks in Europe, there have been massive protests against the governments there for what they've been doing to their agriculture. As you know, in Ireland and Netherlands in particular, they were shutting down a lot of farms, dairy farms in particular, but it was effects felt throughout the agricultural system within Europe that they were protesting to the point that they were even spraying manure on governmental buildings. They probably didn't realize they weren't having much effect because the stuff inside the buildings probably smelled worse than the stuff they were spraying on them. That said, this is no laughing matter because your food supply is under threat, it seems, from all these things going on, not to mention all the food manufacturing and processing facilities that have come under fire over the past couple of years. It's been outrageous, but I'm going to show you what this stuff looks like. Hello, this is Greg Allison with Green Greg's, bringing you what's going down so that you know that you need to be growing your own stuff in the ground. So let's go to it. We're going to get right into these stories, and this is nothing new to my channel. Just for an example to show you, I did this video on gardening to be banned, where they were talking about small farms, in particular gardening and urban gardening in most particular, being a threat to the greenhouse effect. I mean, they're saying that it's got way more carbon footprint than large-scale agriculture, which some of these sources seem to favor, because they really want you getting all those nice little additives in your food. Maybe what is the case, I don't know. But guys, also have done other videos talking about things like zero. These are recent videos. I've been doing videos on these topics for years. Zero food during grid down, why you can expect to eat nothing. And I'm going to walk through a field with sleet here in North Alabama, talking about food security with China buying up U.S. farmland, and just on and on. I've put out a lot of content in these areas over the years, including content to show you how to grow your own food and do so without having to go to the store. But let's take it to the next level. As you see, the former czar for, the green movement, the climate change czar for the current administration, was claiming that agriculture was a major problem. John Kerry targets agriculture as part of climate crusade, as you might know. He lamented agriculture production alone creates 33% of the world's total greenhouse gas emissions. So we just need to quit growing stuff, right? Never mind that people got to eat. Who's people? We're the deplorables in flyover land. Anyway, guys, to bring it more up to date of late, you can see this in Natural News. Engineered famine. Oregon starts shutting down small farms to protect the people. In particular, what they're talking about is, we're afraid about water usage and things like that. I'm not kidding you guys. This is another article talking about the same thing. Liberal states declare war on small farmers and homesteaders. Yes, small farmers and homesteaders appear to be particularly targeted. War on food is spreading in the United States, according to this article, through land use restrictions, geoengineering, and waves of what? Propaganda? Oh, how would that really be? And it's about what? Yeah, remember those guidestones that conveniently got eradicated recently in Georgia? And we're talking about the House of Klaus here. This guy, he'll own nothing. All that kind of good, happy stuff that they talk about, right? Yanasa Farms is one YouTube channel that's put out a lot of content on this recently, including a 20-minute video talking about the Oregon bureaucrats trying to eliminate dairy farms in Oregon, that even if you have just 2 or 3 milking cows, you would have to meet the same standards as the big dairies. I mean, 2 or 3 milking cows, they spend their time out in the fields and the pastures like a cow should. But on the big dairies, they got all these cattle in feeding lots where they're standing, udders deep in manure. And then those udders go to be milked to bring you all that nice stuff that you find in the grocery store, which they process and pasteurize and homogenize and everything else too. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to fix it where you've got to put about $100,000 in facilities because you're all getting classified as concentrated animal feeding operations. Well, I dare say, how do you call an operation where they got 2 or 3 cows that go in and get milk for about 10 to 15 minutes, the only time they're standing at the milk machines, to be a concentrated animal feeding operation, or a CAFO? So, the feeding areas that has a concrete or rock gravel floor falls in this category. Anything where you got, well, you know what, we milked a cow in the log barn when I was a kid, and it wasn't standing on the concrete floor. But that's the typical thing where you put up a milking machine. So, but they're just going on. So the state of Oregon is shutting down these small farms, including the dairies, but also small gardeners. It's not just the dairy farms. They're taking all kind of measures there. And you can see this over at the United States Farms YouTube channel. This is just an article that talks about it. This is another article. Liberal state declares war on small farmers and homesteaders. World Food is spreading this, and the same thing here. This is in the Gateway Pundit, and this is looking at one of these dairy farms. So this lady's got, just 2 or 3 cows and the stuff she's having to deal with there. My good friend Chewy Weather, you see on my channel a lot in the comments. He's been lamenting that himself. But see, farms are already under pressure. Farms don't need external pressure trying to kick them out of business, because they're already going out of business. Bidenomics failing farmers as expected income crashes the most since 2006. Their money is drying up. The overregulation, everything else they're having to deal with, is putting them in financial misery, facing the most significant decline in incomes in almost 2 decades as crop prices slide and U.S. dominance in ag exports wanes. So there's a lot of challenges facing the farm today, and that's just part of it. Guys, the problem is food prices have been going up, and they continue to go up. If this pressure stays on the farmers, you can expect them to continue to go up. Not only that, there may be shortages. I mean, how do you shut down? I'm going to go more into that in just a second and show you more of the challenges for what you're going to have on your shelves. But how do you just shut all this stuff down and still have enough food to eat at cheap prices that's worthy of eating? I mean, yeah, you're going to get the stuff that's loaded up with all kind of chemicals. So here we are, guys. I highly encourage you to plant your own stuff. I highly encourage you to grow your own. I've got links to Eden Brothers and to True Leaf Market in the links below in the show notes. Check that out in the post-it notes, pin notes. You will find, if you come here, you can get discounts from these sources. Not now is the time to buy your seeds, your bulbs, whatever you're doing to grow vegetables. Both Eden Brothers and True Leaf Market have non-GMO seeds. They're all GMO free. Have been with True Leaf Market since 1974. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want to know what you're getting in a grocery store is food, just read the labels. If you can't pronounce it, it's not food. But one of the things that the big ag did is they stopped the label, and they fought to have against having to have GMO labeling on the food. So you don't know what you're getting. You can bet it's GMO. Wow. Okay. So what they grow is all too often GMO. So if you want to get away from that and know what you're eating and know you're getting fresh, healthy food, grow your own. If you can't, support your local farmers at the farmers market who do grow fresh stuff for you. That's food that's, if you buy the vegetables that they're growing or you grow yourself, you will find that it is more nutritious. It don't have all the miles to, it's got to travel to the shelf. It's not in storage for weeks. I mean, the carrots grown by the big farmers are basically like cardboard. They're tough because they got to be able to survive on the store shelf for a long period of time. The stuff you get from the local farms is sweet and tender, far and more nutritious, more vitamins. Anyway, guys, this is another article here about Oregon's government and dairy industry joins forces against small farmers. Now, this fits in the theme of other things I've been talking about. See, dairy industry, the big ag, is going in with the governments to shut down the small guys. It's the same thing all over the country, including in your city halls, where the big companies that do like electrical work for your home and other companies like that, they go in and suddenly say, hey, you got to have a lot of certifications for these guys. And it's all in the name of safety. Oh, yeah. In that case, it's in the name of safety. I had an electrician that used to come here and work for me who had to quit because he says, Greg, I've got to pass 21 different certs to do electrical work in the homes now. 21 different certs. He said each one takes a long time and you got to test. And there's applications fees of maybe $1,000. So what do you get? That guy would know what he was doing. He knew his work well. But now you got to go to the bigger houses all too often because they're squeezing the small guys out. And this is happening to local levels. This is what a lot of your so-called permitting process is about, that a lot of your counties and municipalities require, and the certifications they require. They say they do it in the name of safety. No, it's so the bigger companies that are lining the pockets of the politicians get the jobs because they got bigger overhead. They can afford to these costs where the smaller operators cannot. So what you wind up getting is you spend twice as much for somebody to come out and do inferior work. They send a bunch of snot-nosed kids out all too often, not always, but all too often, who don't know jack diddle about anything to do the job. And it's not safer. I've had to have their work redone here in my house here that some of those guys did. It was way overpriced. And I finally found a good little contractor to come in and fix the stuff that I paid way too much for. So vote with your dollar. I'll tell you that all the time here, and vote for the small mom and pop shops when you can. If they got a big ad, and if they're one of the companies back when you had yellow pages that ran big ads, I wouldn't use them. That's just my take on it. Now, some of you may work for those companies. Well, God bless you. That's all I got to say. But guys, yeah, I'm sure they all have some good guys, but by and large, you're not getting your money's worth. Anyway, guys, so here we are. The dairies are being squeezed out in the same fashion. Decline dairy farms in Alabama. See, this is without, see, it's the blue states that are really shutting things down, but the decline is happening everywhere just because of cost. Decline, look, a close look at challenges and commitment. It says here that in 2017, there was 366 milk cow farms. In 2022, that number was down to 92. And I had a good friend that used to work at the farmer's market with me. He shut down in 2022. So I don't know if he was one of those 92 counted in here or not. I remember when there used to be dairies all around here. None of those exist anymore, except I think there may still be one in Ardmore. But I've seen, that's on the Tennessee side, I believe. I see this stuff shut down left and right. So it's nothing like it used to be. But that's just from the natural pressures against farming. Guys, but these guys are going after these farms because they're working hand in hand with industry, industrial farming, with big ag. The big dairy industries are shutting down the small guys. Many industries invite overregulation. Yeah, why? Because they got the overhead to do it. It squeezes out the smaller guys and gives them a larger market share. So it's about money. It's not about giving you a good deal. So that's why you need to support the small farmers when you can, but you better just be growing your own as much as you can with everything coming at us. Now, this article is back from 2019. It's hard to get some of the recent data. I was searching for it. I assume you could dig, and if you find it, it'd be even worse than this. This is talking about the number of acres declining, the number of farmland acres from 914 million to about 900 million. As you can see here, the difference here between 2012 and 2017, just in 5 years. I'll show you some charts that illustrate that. Here we go, guys. Look at this. This is from the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And believe you me, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has played a hand in this, particularly under the Nixon administration Secretary of Agriculture, Earl Butz. He's the one that's instigated a huge policy shift in the Department of Agriculture that drove things more to the large corporate farms towards shutting down the small family farms. He drove policies that directly favored that, and they had an effect, my friends. They had a huge effect. And I happen to be proud that I was, as a child in middle school, able to witness my father make a liar out of Secretary of Agriculture Earl Butz when he worked for him. My father was a whistleblower. My father was on a program called Green Grow the Money, an ABC News special that was aired internationally somewhere back in the 70s, mid 70s. And he was at a chicken house explaining to ABC News team that they put arsenic in the feed right up to time of capture of the chickens. Now, the regulation, they used to feed arsenic to chickens to make them grow out faster, but they had a requirement to shut that feeding down several weeks before they were harvested. So my dad was explaining, no, they continue to feed that all the way up to harvest time. And so the camera switched from my dad saying that to directly to Earl Butz. And the ABC News crews asked Earl Butz if that was the case. And he says, no. And he nearly got mad. It's like nearly cussing him. That's not the case. And the next scene, they took that feed tested from that chicken house. My dad showed them where the chickens had just been harvested and tested it. And they showed the test results, which proved positive for arsenic. So I got to watch my dad make a liar out of his big boss man on ABC News back when it was an international news special, back when I had about 3 networks. Yeah, I had a lot of viewers way back then. So that was a treat for me back in the day. But otherwise, look here, guys. Here is an inverse graph of the number of farms and average size of farms. Well, is these farms going to have to till more acres? They have to have bigger equipment. And now you got multi-million-dollar tractors that run on software. And these farmers have to pay huge fees for software updates just to run their tractors every year. Yeah, they don't even own the software. It's like Microsoft, you know. What a scam that they're getting run on them too. Farming is the most capital intensive industry in America. You spend more for machinery and equipment for unit output of anybody else. So it's a tough business. And furthermore, farming is mostly made up of older individuals. Now, this is another threat to the food supply, as the younger guys just aren't getting into it as much. So here's the 35 to 44 age group. It's about half, and you can see and it goes down very fast. How many are really into farming? You find the farms are being done. Look here, the biggest farm group is from 55 to 64. I would say that the next group down here, 65 to 74. These guys that should be retired. They're as big as the 45 to 54 group people. Look at that. This is the bulk of your farmers. Even got a fair number in the plus 75. These are the guys who will be going out of business because the only reason this group isn't bigger is they're kicking the bucket. What happens when they kick the bucket? Go in the nursing home, the nursing homes grab the farmland. Yeah, the farmland that was pioneered by their ancestors hundreds of years ago and kept in a family gets taken by the state for the last couple of years of care for somebody's life, something that the family's fought for and toiled over for generations gets taken for a couple of years of comfort for somebody being held in a nursing home. Most unfortunate, because they don't value property rights. They don't value the nature of the farm. And we're losing these. These farms get sold. Who buys them? Big ag developers. Around here, the farms are turning into houses. They're converting fields. I could just show you video after video of just fields that are being turned into housing right now. That's farmland that'll never be recovered. So the whole idea that your farming is going to continue as it has is highly up in the air. How does it continue? Guys, you got to start growing your own. And these are some of the agricultural regions in the United States of America. You can see here we got the Northern Great Plains, we got the Prairie Gateway. All this is grazing land basically back here. You got the fruitful edges where they grow a lot of fruits, you know, here in this light green. And you got the North Crescent up here. This is your Corn Belt and the Heartland right there. And you got the Eastern Uplands, which is basically Appalachian Ozarks. And I presently live right here, but I'm moving over here. Somewhere like that. Anyway, guys, now get this. Now, here's that part where we're talking about propaganda in the article I showed you earlier. This is from Soros, one of Soros's favorite organizations, called Media Matters. Media Matters. What do you think about Media Matters? Their right-wing Homestead influencers are demonizing migrants and pushing nativist conspiracy theories. See, these guys are attacking homesteaders. I kid you not. They think homesteaders are evil, and maybe that's why they want to shut them down. Why? Because they're people that want to stand on their own 2 feet. They're people that want to have some independence. You can't have independence where they want to take us in a society and a world where you own nothing. You see, guys, this is what they want. I don't know. It looks highly suspicious to me. Do you think they're trying to shut farmers down? You tell me. Do you think this is heading us toward the House of Klaus? You tell me. Well, look here. What's going on? This is in England. Now I know Doug and Stacy showed this on their channel. Doug did, and read this up. But this is actually a rule that they're putting out in England. Well, it may come here too, or go elsewhere in our Western world. New rules mean all poultry keepers must register their birds. We're not just talking about chickens. They're talking about chickens. They're talking about quail. If you own pigeons, cockatoos, if you got birds in England, you're going to be required to register them. Oh, yeah. Can you imagine that? I mean, how long does birds live? I mean, you got to keep a lot of paperwork to keep up with now if you got to register. Currently, those who keep 50 birds or more are required to submit dovetails. But as part of this new move, they're going to make it basically extended to all poultry keepers. So it's going to be, if you own a bird, apparently you're going to have to pay the price and keep up the paperwork and register every little bird you got. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Well, if you register it, they could take it, right? It's just like in the US of A. Well, we don't want them registering bang bangs. Well, that's not a freedom in the UK. So take it out. Now, look at this, guys. So, yeah, that's because of the avian flu. But now, look how many cows we lost according here to this is in Amarillo.com, Amarillo news site. At least 70,000 cows passed away. Excuse me, 7,000. I say 70. At least 7,000 cows passed away due to those historic Texas wildfires that we just had. Well, that's a whole lot less cattle that's going to be available for the meat industry, the beef industry. And it was already down. It was already down. Just go look at the grocery store and see what the prices of beef have been. Are they going to go up? Well, there's been other pressures to take herd sizes down. Well, that sure don't help us on our side of the consumer equation. But it's not just beef cattle. Dairy cattle in Texas and Kansas test positive for what? The bird flu. You got to be kidding me. The bird flu. Remember how many chickens they wiped out a couple of years back because of being tested for the bird flu? Well, they're claiming the cows is just making them sick, so they're just not using the milk from those cows that's got this. Well, that's a whole lot of milk that's getting flushed down the drain, so milk supplies, cheese supplies may be challenged now. This could be another pressure to increase cost, and this could spread beyond Texas and Kansas. You might remember a year or two ago, they were talking about seals, marine mammals in South America catching the bird flu. There is concern that the bird flu, as it's advancing up into other mammals, may catch hold in human beings soon as it's mutating. Yikes. Anyway, guys, so that's a whole nother story, but we're looking at it from the standpoint of food and agriculture. Now, this is Maine. I don't know how we survive. Farmers and facing ruining Maine's forever chemical crisis. Apparently, this guy bought a farm. He was growing everything organic and found out the predecessor that owned his property sprayed, unbeknownst to him, biosolids, or other words, sewage waste on the farmland. I know of a pastor not far from here that did the same thing, where they were spraying sewage on the farmlands. So, guys, this guy, Songbird Farms, he had 17 acres, and suddenly now he was growing heirloom grain, tomatoes, sweet garlic, cantaloupe, vegetables, and now he's finding out that this stuff is contaminated by those forever chemicals, the PFAS, PFAS, or whatever you call them, PFAS. Those forever chemicals are just all in this land. Apparently, they're finding this throughout Maine, and are shutting down farms due to that. Well, they got all kind of everything's at stake. Yeah, this is sad news for these people that invested their lives and everything in this. He's not a happy camper, and neither should he be. It's a sad occasion, guys. But these are the challenges we're facing today. And I'm hearing there's other challenges in Maine and other blue states where they're trying to shut down the farms. So that's what I got to say about that. This is a huge challenge to food production. It is a huge challenge going forward. We see it. Big agriculture has been pushed, but they favor the big agriculture because the big agriculture's got the big money that's pocketing the big politicians. How is it that somebody goes in office for $100,000 a year and a couple of years and comes out a millionaire? A lot of questions, my friends, a lot of questions to be answered. But this is not a pretty picture. If you think they care for you and your ability to eat food at affordable price, look what's happened to McDonald's, for Pete's sake. McDonald's is now like an expensive dinner. Can you afford it? I mean, it used to be where the poor people would go to eat because you could get food cheap. It was cheap food too. You got what you paid for. But now that cheap food is expensive. And another thing, it's like this. It's what are you getting when you buy the food from the big ag? Like I said, read the labels, but it's not just that. It's not all in the labels. You take breads, grain. If it don't say organic, you better think twice. And even then, you better double check, because the practice for wheat, they don't use, glyphosate to control weeds in wheat because it'll kill wheat. But when you come to harvest the wheat, they spray the entire field with it. Why? To kill it all at the same time. So it all gets ripe at the same time. Then they harvest it, and then they use it again in the drying. It's part of the drying process. Apparently, they spray the wheat with the stuff before it goes in the grain elevators, according to some sources. I don't know, guys. What I do know is that there's a whole lot of glyphosate sprayed in this stuff. That's my main concern with GMO food, is most GMO stuff is GMO'd so that they can spray more chemicals in the crops. It's the chemicals I'm more concerned about, not necessarily the actual genetic change and alteration. I wish that we could change genetically some kind of like perennial to shoot up annuals. I mean, like, so you wouldn't have to retill the soil and plant everything. Like maybe you'd have some kind of bush that would shoot wheat up, and then you go harvest the wheat off and leave the bush in the ground. Now that might be a good genetic engineer if they could come up with something like that. But no, they genetic engineer stuff not for the good, but to make it cheap and easy to use lots of chemicals. Yikes. Is that in your bread label? When you read the ingredients on your bread, do they tell you that? You tell me. So what are you getting? Maybe it's okay. I get all kinds of, great, it's fine. There's not a problem. They tested on people. They cause no problem in human cells. Well, we got this thing called a gut biome. Your gut biome is your first line of defense in your immune system. And I have read data that claims it does mess with the gut biome. And I don't know, but there's a ton of lawsuits against Roundup, glyphosate today. Tons of lawsuits, big class action lawsuits. Now, why are those out there? Is it just the lawyers and the judges, or is there something to it? You tell me what you think. I don't know. Tell me in the comments what you think that's all about. So, but in any event, the bottom line is this. If you want food, if you want security with your food, grow your own. Buy your own seeds. Harvest your foods and save the seeds. But start with heirloom seeds so you'll get the same plant back, not hybrid seeds. That's why you want to go to True Leaf Market. That's why you want to go to Eden Brothers to get that kind of stuff. And grow your garden in a way that you don't have to go to the store to buy pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers. Learn composting techniques, get worms. No, I'm not selling worms anymore, unfortunately, because I'm moving. But maybe I'll come up with a link for y'all to get worms with a friend of mine here soon. Anyway, my friends, eyes wide open, head on a swivel. It's coming at us fast, and the threat to our food supply seems to be existent. What do you think? You tell me in the comments below. Do you think this is just some people will tell me this is a bunch of hooey, there's no problem. Nothing ever happens. Nothing's ever going to happen. I hear that all the time. But people must have their blinders on. They haven't been watching what's been going on for the last 5 years, have they? Anyway, yikes. Anyway, my friends, subscribe to my channel, bang the notification bell, and click out and share my videos far and wide. Thank you for watching. Greg out.